Right now, a 38-year-old man is sitting on top of the greatest goal-scoring record in the history of the biggest sporting event on Earth. He just broke it during this exact tournament. The World Cup has been running for 96 years. In that time, it has produced records that are almost impossible to believe, and most of them are still standing today, even with 48 teams and more matches than ever before. The first World Cup was played in Uruguay in 1930. 13 teams showed up, several arrived by boat because flying wasn't really a thing yet, and Uruguay won on home soil. That's where this story starts. Here are 7 of the most impressive records in World Cup history that have stood the test of time. Number 1. The fastest goal in World Cup history. In 2002, Turkey were playing South Korea for third place. Their star striker Hakan Şükür had gone the entire tournament without scoring. 8 hours and 22 minutes of football. Nothing. Then the referee blew the whistle to start the match. South Korea kicked off, passed the ball backward to their own defender, and somehow lost it almost immediately. The ball found its way to Şükür inside the box. He took one touch, he scored. 11 seconds, that's it. The match had barely started, and it was already over for the record books. To put that in perspective, it takes most people longer than 11 seconds to read this sentence out loud. Şükür scored a World Cup goal faster than that. In a sport where games last 90 minutes, somebody found a way to make history in less time than it takes to tie your shoes. Number 2. The most goals scored by one player in a single World Cup. In 1958, a French striker named Just Fontaine almost didn't even make the team. He brought one spare pair of boots to the tournament because he genuinely didn't expect to play. Then injuries opened a spot. Fontaine stepped in, and he did not stop scoring. 6 matches, 13 goals. He scored a hat trick in his very first game. He scored 4 goals against the reigning World Cup champions in the third-place match just because he could. That record has stood since 1958. Almost 70 years, nobody has gotten remotely close. Fontaine himself once said beating it would require someone running on water, and so far he's been right. The closest anyone has come since is 10 goals. Fontaine had 13, in a single tournament, playing in his one and only World Cup. He never played in another one. He didn't need to. Speed and scoring records are one thing, but the next record isn't about what happened on the field. It's about a tiny island nobody expected to see at the World Cup at all. Number 3, the smallest nation to ever qualify for a World Cup. Curaçao, a Caribbean island with a population of about 156,000 people. For context, that's smaller than most American college towns. In 2025, Curaçao did something nobody thought was mathematically possible. They beat out countries with populations in the tens of millions and qualified for the 2026 World Cup, instantly becoming the smallest nation in history to do it. The previous record holder was Iceland, with a population of 350,000. And then in their very first ever World Cup match against Germany, a player named Livano Comenencia scored. The smallest country to ever qualify became the smallest country to ever score, in the same tournament. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe, because we cover records like this every week. Next up is a record that stood since before the youngest player in World Cup history. You'd think it was Pelé. Everybody thinks it's Pelé. It is not Pelé. It's a 17-year-old from Northern Ireland named Norman Whiteside. In 1982, he walked onto the pitch for his country's opening match at 17 years and 41 days old. He had played exactly 2 professional matches for his club team before that. 2. He immediately got booked for a foul, making him the youngest player to ever receive a yellow card at a World Cup too. Pelé himself sent him a message afterward joking that he hoped Whiteside would go on to win 3 World Cups, just like he did. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. That record is still standing. Right now. During this exact tournament. The youngest player at the 2026 World Cup is 17 years and 240 days old. That's nearly 7 months older than Whiteside was in 1982. 44 years. Dozens of tournaments. Thousands of players. Nobody has even gotten close. Number 5. The only time in World Cup history the competition has ever been completely shut down. The World Cup was supposed to happen in 1942. It didn't. World War II made that impossible. Then it was supposed to happen again in 1946. Also canceled. The world was too busy recovering from the deadliest conflict in human history to play football. That created a 12-year gap between tournaments. And here's a detail most people don't know. The actual physical World Cup trophy nearly didn't survive the war either. An Italian football official hid it from Nazi forces in a shoebox under his bed to keep it from being melted down for its gold. It worked. The same trophy survived the war hidden under a mattress and made it back to the tournament in 1950. Number 6. The most goals ever scored by one team in a single match. In 1982, Hungary played El Salvador. By the final whistle, the scoreline read 10-1. Hungary is still the only national team in World Cup history to ever score 10 goals in a single match. The most memorable moment came from a substitute named Laszlo Kiss, who came off the bench and scored a hat trick in just 7 minutes. That remains the fastest hat trick in World Cup history, and to this day, the only hat trick ever scored by a substitute in the competition. Number 7 happened earlier in this exact tournament, and it might be the biggest one on this list. Lionel Messi scored 2 goals against Austria. The first one tied a 12-year-old record held by Germany's Miroslav Klose. The second one broke it. That made him the single greatest goal scorer the World Cup has ever seen. We've covered a goal scored faster than you can read a sentence. A scoring record that stood since before most people's grandparents were born. A nation of 156,000 people doing something mathematically improbable. A 17-year-old who's been undefeated in his own record for 44 years. A trophy that survived a world war hidden in a shoebox. A 10-goal demolition that's never been repeated. And now, history being rewritten in real time. If you've made it this far, do me a favor and hit that like button. 96 years of football, and it keeps finding new ways to surprise us.